All right. All right, good people. Welcome back to the All Things Fitness podcast, where we talk about all aspects of fitness, physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental. We have a dope show for you today. We're actually going to go panel style. So we have four dope individuals besides myself. I will simply be moderating today, and we're going to let them speak, glean from them what you will. They all come from their different aspects of life, different careers, different viewpoints. And so we like to touch on different aspects of fitness, as we said. So they're going to give their opinions on things, their thoughts, their life experience. Hopefully, between the four combined, you can get a holistic view of how we live the fit life. So that's what we're talking about today, how to live the fit life and what that means for you. All right, so we got my man Frank Clayton, we got Vernice Cooper, we got Mario Catley, otherwise known as Cat Fitness. We got Devona McClinton, Coach D, my old school people. All right, and we're going to talk today about how to live a fit life. So, good people, how are we feeling today?
Amazing.
Blessed and divinely guided.
We good.
Right down.
Yeah.
Right
We here. Let's go.
Right on. Okay. We got some good energy today. So, what we're going to do to keep things order, you're going to hear from my brother Frank, then you hear from Vernice, then you hear from Kat, then you hear from Devona, just so you know what to expect. Every single person on this panel is here for a reason. They're doing some awesome, dope things in their own lives in the community. And so we're trying to bring different people in so you can meet different folks you may actually want to connect with, that you can learn from, and you may want to tap into. Maybe you can offer something that they need in their lives. So feel free to jump in, comment. We'll put all of their direct contact information in the info section so you can reach out to whoever you want, Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth. And we will definitely, we already talked about it, have a part 2, maybe a part 3 to this. So get used to seeing these faces, y'all. So first and foremost, when we're talking about living the fit life, we have to talk about how we define that, right? So what does the fit life mean for you? So for me personally, it means being a whole person, right? And so we know, especially if you're in the fitness space, which most of us are, it's very easy to turn into that dude or that woman that got muscles out the yin yang and ain't good for nothing else, right? So it's real easy to do. I've been that guy. I was in the gym 12 hours a day and I didn't offer nothing else to you but these biceps. So we had to get more well-rounded as we got older, right? As we live life. So now it's more like, how can I be a peaceful person? How can I be a person that brings a dope environment wherever I come? Like when I walk in the door, it's like, hey, it's not like, oof, you know what I mean? How can I be a dope father? How can I be a dope husband? How can I best raise my kids? All these different type of things, and not so much focus myopically on just one thing, right? And so for me, that's what it is, being a well-rounded whole person. But let's go down the line. Brother Frank, for you, what defines the fit life for you?
It's funny because I felt like that was going to be kind of the consensus of the answers around this question. So then I was like, how could I shake it up a little bit? I'm gonna take it and break it into an acronym, right? Fit life, right? Of course, the F is for fitness, right? You want your physical health to be on point and be fit. But then part of fit life is being invested, right? Being invested in anything that you do and everything that you do, being present and invested. And then the T is transformative, right? We are not meant to stay in one place in this life. We travel this life. This is a journey, whether it's a fitness journey, life is a journey. So the T I'm thinking about is transformative. How will I impact this place when I leave? So the F, the I, and the T, that is the fit life for me.
Right on. Dope. All right, Miss Vernice Cooper, what are your thoughts? How do you define the fit life?
No, Frank didn't come starting us off with an acronym. Okay.
Always.
He did his homework, Brittany. He did his homework. He cheated. Teacher said,
it's an open book test, y'all.
I guess. Don't worry, I'm gonna be ready for the next question. Somebody else is talking. So how do I define the fit life? For me, first of all, it's really intimidating to be on here with a bunch of real fitness folks, right? While I donate to all these gyms that I belong to. But for me, the fit life means congruence. Showing up everywhere the way I post to be, right?
Mm.
Being
Post.
who I post to be
Uh,
at home, in my marriage, with my children, on a stage, everywhere. So that congruence, that is what being fit is about, like being the same person everywhere I go.
Right on, Bernice. So I'm hearing oneness, right? Like this is who I am. I'm this person. Wherever I show up, this is what you can expect. Right? That's dope. Right on. You got me thinking already. All right, Kat, for you, how do you define the fit life, sir?
fit life for me is making sure, I think we talked about this on a different episode, but making sure that I prioritize myself. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us, I know a couple of us on here are parents, right? And we can put a lot of things before ourselves, but how fit are we to our family if we're constantly putting everybody in front of us, you know? And I think the fit life for me is being able to embody and lead by example in all the different categories that we're talking about, mentally, physically, spiritually, making sure that my cup is full and being able to pour into my kids, pour into my wife, my companion, and making sure that I know I have to be somewhat selfish to do that sometimes, creating those boundaries. So yeah,
Okay.
that's what the fit life means to me.
Right on, right on. Very true, because we can only give out what we have already, right? Yeah, very true. And that's crazy. When it comes to parenting, like we automatically think reverse. But if I'm always drained, right? Like you turn around and say you got a bunch of kids, or even one, depending on how you handle stress. Like you look at that parent and like, man, your kid is having a terrible experience. Well, you're never caring for yourself. So you walk in already in this depleted, unhappy state, and then you're dealing with a kid too, right? Like it's not going to work. So very good, Kat. Very good, man. All right, Miss Devona McClinton, Coach D. How do you define the fit life?
So I was listening to Kat, and I feel like we always like on the same page. And when I think about fitness, I think about bring it back to me and even how I even got into this area or this arena. And it's about prioritizing me, making sure I'm at the top of the list, because there was a time in my life where I didn't know I was so busy giving out to everybody else, being a single mom, kind of just surviving and going on autopilot. And so when I kind of got into the space of really wanting a transformation, it wasn't really until I got selfish with myself and put myself and feeling guilty about putting myself first. And so it's always about me experiencing the God in me, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And it's just, I just define it as a set of agreements that I've made with myself to be my best self in every area, and giving myself permission to make mistakes and not being hard on myself. So it's about experiencing forgiveness. It's about experiencing, it's not just about the physical, it's about the wholeness. It's about everything that comes into making you a person that really gives you a sense of peace and a sense of purpose. And that's what fitness is for me.
Right on, right on. Being kinder to yourself. Yeah, that's a hard one. Right on, especially when you get again into the parenting phase of life, right? Like literally, like Kat, Devona, you guys like peeking in my window or something, because I swear I had this conversation just a couple of days ago. But we're so hard on ourselves, especially when it comes to our children, not giving ourselves the grace of like, just like this kid has never been 11 before, has never been 6 before, has never been 18 before. You've never been this age or been a parent at this age or parenting a kid this age before. Right. So we're all learning as we go. I'm learning from them, they're learning from me.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Devon. Go ahead.
I just wanted to tell you something that just popped in my head, because and to hear you say that is, my daughter said to me last week, is like, Mom, and it almost kind of made me cry a little bit. And she said, I wish that you didn't sacrifice so much for me, because some of it wasn't necessary. You sacrificing for me as much as you did meant that you have to go without. You went without. And I kind of, she sees how that manifested in kind of the person who I became, and who I'm working to kind of unlearn some of those habits that I developed to sacrifice and to survive. And so she said that to me, like, I wish you didn't have to sacrifice. It didn't feel like you had to sacrifice for me as much as you did, because it just meant that you went without so much.
Right, right.
Man.
It's funny. And let's touch on this. Let's touch on this.
Yeah.
I know we got this is why we're gonna have part 2 and part 3. This right here. Y'all always come with some stuff and then we do this. So, but that's good. That's a conversation we want to have. Because think about it, right? We always think about it in terms of like professional athletes or people that went from this to this, right? And that's always a conversation they have, like, how do I keep my kids grounded? My kids are never gonna come from the muck the way I did. But even in just everyday life, look at us versus our parents, versus our grandparents, the things we have, even if you don't consider yourself super successful or uber successful, dude, we're 1,000 times past where our parents came from or our grandparents came from, even the issues we deal with day to day. So while we're raising them up, it's that battle again, like the balance of, I want you to have a better experience, but I don't want to make you soft either. You know what I mean? You got to be able to handle life when you get out of this house. So how do we balance that? Frank, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you walk that line?
Oh man, it's so interesting right now that you say that, because I can, I got 2 boys, and I think it's different, or it can be different for young boys and young women. But for me personally, I really focus on teaching my kids how to think and not what to think. How to think and not what to think. And so that means helping them with language and processing their emotions and their feelings, and helping them understand that, when we came up, you did a certain thing that was soft, or you couldn't do this, that was perceived as weak or whatever, right? And so really helping them understand, like, this is normal, this is natural. What you do with it is what matters the most. And so all of those things, I think helping kids just develop that idea of a sense of self is the most important thing. And then you don't have to worry about like them outside of the house. At least that's my theory. Like I said, my kids are too young for my theory to, for me to know it as tried and true. But it seems to work. Like they go in spaces and they're able to navigate at the age that they are already. And so, that's what it is for me, teaching them how to think and not what to think.
Right on, right on. Because it's like having the strong sense of self early on, then you're living life from the inside out, right? Versus for us, like, we know our upbringings, most of it was just learning how to deal with what was outside of you. Right. How do I navigate this? How do I survive this? Just so I can get to the point where maybe I can live a life. You know what I mean? And so again, finding that balance between the two. Yeah, thank you, Frank. Very good, man. So Vernice, for you, what are your thoughts on this?
Devona got me already started, but how, because our kids, they come back and they tell us and they teach us. So we also have to remain coachable. But I remember my husband coaching my son's basketball team, right? My son is the only grandson. And so there's a lot of pressure. And we were wondering why he kept looking at his watch in the games. And then we took the watch from him, so he kept looking at the scoreboard. We thought he was trying to see the score. He was trying to get out of the game. And we were just like, and he told us, he said, you know what, I just want to do Legos. And we were like, because we tell kids to advocate for what you want. I didn't really mean it though. I don't know about y'all. I'll be telling my kids. But if we had not let him make that transition when he was 8, he wouldn't be doing the stuff he's doing at the scale that he's doing it in Lego animation. He wouldn't have won at 12 years old an international film festival, right? So it's we can tell them, and I think back to what Frank is saying, we can tell them how to think and not what to think, even though I will be guilty of saying, I've tried them both. The other thing is, I think we have to show them we're busy talking to kids. But if back to that congruence, if we're not living that life,
Yes.
right? And I tell
Yeah.
this story all the time. I'll keep it very brief, but my daughter was in the state championships and she fell off the beam. Y'all know that beam, that little, right? And she, she's a Black girl, so she's not like real thin or nothing. So she tried to flip and fell off the beam, and she got up and she just put her hands up, that staple sign when you're done. And I mean, I was worried. I'm running down to the. I said, Riley, why'd you quit? She's like, I said, what happened when you fell? She said, I didn't fall, I landed. Ooh.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
see, she knew something that I didn't at the moment. She knew that wasn't her event. She, in her mind, she was preparing for what she was really good at, which was the floor. Anyway, I can go on this all day, but the stuff we're showing our kids, the resilience, they have to see that some of the adversity that we're going through, right? So when Devona, when she said that, the way her daughter said, I wish I didn't have to do that much, they're learning from the experience.
Awesome, Bernice. I remember Kat and I got into that on a prior episode talking about the importance of modeling, right? And a lot of times, whether it's me speaking to, because Frank here talking about the boys, trust me, I got you. I completely understand because my oldest is the girl, luckily, because she had me all kind of stressed out. And now I got 3 boys that we're rocking with, right? And so with them, it's again, I had looked at a teaching that I then shared with Kat, and it was very important for me. I think I was already doing it, but it just stressed the importance of it. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to ask my child to read or to increase their knowledge in this or this or this area, to tap in themselves emotionally, to deal with their mental health or their spatial awareness, whatever, it's vitally important that I'm already found doing those things myself, right? Because again, like Bernice, you said, they learn from watching and experiencing, not necessarily being told, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's a thing we can always come back to as parents. It's like, okay, before we have this conversation, before I come at this kid the way I think we're going to have this conversation, am I even doing this myself? Right. And I think that's a huge thing that we see in great examples of parenting and we don't see in poor examples, right? Or even our own experience. So Kat, for you, on this bent, on the parenting angle, being congruent, all that good stuff, how are you doing, brother?
Man, so this really speaks to me because I just had experience this week, right? I got 4 sons, right? Oldest is 18, youngest is 9, and then we got 16 and 13 in the middle. So on Wednesday, right, son just started his own podcast, right? His own thing. He got his clothing brand. He started his own podcast. And I thought it was real cool because I got one of the local rappers that's more conscious in the communities to come out to the radio station and talk about health and wellness and everything. So I thought it'd be real dope because it's that same generation, a little bit older than my son, but he could relate because he's doing his thing. So I had him come out and to see just how my son was just so confident in his brand and everything that he was doing and how that whole interaction came off. I was like, dang, I did something right, right? Just by having him shadow me at my events and at different things. And now it's his opportunity to express his platforms and everything that he got and all the little conversations that we've had in between time to see when he had his opportunity that it was like, I'm there, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, dang, all the things that I was unsure about prior to that, when that opportunity presented itself, he was ready for it, right? And I think sometimes that as a parent, like you said, there's no guidelines. So as a parent, you're freestyling, right? You like, I can only do what I feel in this moment is the best. And hopefully the message comes across like it's supposed to, and they get the message. And seeing that, it was like, he got it. All the things I've been telling him for all these years, he got it. And then on the other spectrum, my 9-year-old, right? He's a YouTuber, or that's his dream job, right? My kids is like, Dad, I want to be a YouTuber, right? And it's like, growing up, you're like, that's not a real job. But in this day and age, it is. YouTubers are multi-millionaire kids, all these things. So how can I tell them no? Right? That's my own personal fear. That's my own personal self getting in the way, my ego. Like, I got to let that go. If that's what he's feeling, it's something within him that he knows that I can't tell him that is wrong, you know? So I have to step back as a parent and look at things like that, because even from my oldest to my 16 and 18-year-old, you know, we raised them playing football, running track, playing basketball, doing all those kind of things. And my youngest two was like, we don't like that. Well, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do something. What are you interested in, right? Both of them said swimming, right? Which, that's cool. And one said boxing. I was like, okay, well, those aren't my personal favorite, but I got to allow them to be them at the end of the day. You know, just kind of feeding off what Vernice said. It's like, we've been raised and programmed a certain kind of way, and not saying that it was the right or wrong way, but it was the best that our parents could do in the moment that they had and the information that they had at the time. So us as parents, learning as we go, that's all we can do. We can just do the best that we can in that present moment when situations present themselves, and hopefully we're equipping ourselves with the necessary tools that we need in life to be able to pass those down to our kids and other generations to come. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it's just dope to see that. You know what I'm saying? Just to be like, I have to take myself out of the equation. You know?
Right.
This is about them.
Yeah, and it's crazy, Kat. You know, you bring that up, and it's like, man, the video game thing, the YouTube thing, right? Like I tell, so the second youngest, he's getting ready to be 20. And it's like, man, I wish I had been born 25 years later, because I love video games too.
Yeah.
I do. But back in my day, if you played games out there, you were a bum.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
bro,
the
get
picture
a
our parents
job.
painted to us.
Man,
What you gonna do with the video games? They ain't gonna do nothing for you.
I'm nice with Madden. I promise you. I promise you I am. But by the time I was 18, 19, like, bro, like, you gonna go out there and feed yourself or not? What we gonna do? Right.
Yeah.
And they're living in a time where it's like, I could be nice with this, and these kids are gonna sit up there and hit that donate button all day. And youngsters that made 10 grand doing this.
You want to hear something, y'all? My 9-year-old said, since I'm such a cool parent, he's gonna give me an allowance once the money starts coming in.
Okay.
Right? My 9-year-old told me he's gonna give me allowance when the money start rolling in. I said, how you gonna get the money? He said, the advertisements.
Bro,
I said, what's my allowance?
Hey,
check this out. I said, what's my allowance then? He said, well, I'm gonna give you 100,000. I'm gonna give mom 100,000. He's like, that's y'all allowance from what I'm gonna be getting in. So to even be thinking on that like level, like, oh yeah, this ain't no little thing we about to do. We about to scale this thing. It's gonna be something big. That's even dope to see him at that level. You know what I'm saying? To even be able to dream and fathom something like that. You know, I tell my parents I'm making $250,000. What the hell you gonna do? Sell drugs? How the hell you gonna make $250,000? You know what I'm saying? Like, even have these conversations.
The thinking, man, the thinking, I don't know what your experience was, but I remember, and I tell the kids this all the time. Like, I know generations prior had progress happen for them too, so things changed throughout their lives. But for me, I remember being on college campus, and a lot of my friends were older, and we were the first generation that was like, you can graduate from this 4-year school, and that don't mean you're gonna get near lick of a job. That don't mean you're gonna get anything. You just went to school, right? And so it changed our whole perspective on it. So now when I'm talking to them, we're talking more about the pros and the cons and the value of the experience, but not as a prerequisite to a good life. Right. And so it's very different. They see how I live, Kat, Frank, Savona, Vernice, they see how we live. And so it's like, it's not go to college, get a job, this, that, whatever, the way we were taught. And literally we got to see that the way our parents taught us, even though it's all they knew, didn't necessarily work out the way it was advertised. So now in our relation to our kids, right? Go ahead, Frank.
Now, I was gonna say that's why it's important. I had to reiterate the point again, is to teach them how to think, because think about it, our parents were behind.
Yeah.
We are behind.
Oh man. Shit, I'm
Yeah.
trying
Our
to keep
parents
up.
were behind, and we are behind, right?
Mhm.
Because their future is very different from ours. And so they are recognizing that there is a shift. And if you don't recognize it as a parent, you may be doing them a disservice by trying to advocate for this lifestyle
Put
that
them
will
in a
be
box.
obsolete
Yeah.
by the time they are old enough to pursue it.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely,
So
man.
again, the lesson point you have to learn from them
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, Devon, I don't want to leave you out because you started us down this whole road. So you got to touch on this too. So when it comes to parenting, I know you talked about it a little bit, but what's the most important part for you in that dynamic?
I think just allowing, so first of all, I became a mom at 19. And so my daughter and I, we grew up together, and like we all have all said, like there's no manual. We don't know, right? And I think I've always parented from the space of allowing Jasmine to, that's my daughter, to explore, to decide what works for her. But it was kind of a strange dynamic where I was always wanting to be her protector and not wanting her to get hurt, but always left her with enough rope for her to decide what she needs or what she wants, but not letting her go too far to where it would become detrimental or hurtful for her. And so now, today, she'll be 32 in about 2 months. She is one of the most strong-willed, resilient, knowing of self, selfless, leading with love persons that I know. And so while I didn't have a manual and while I was doing the best that I could, I think that my focus as a parent was to allow her to discover life and discover what it is that's important to her. Because I think, and it was probably just because it was probably the phase of life that I was in at the time. We were kind of just growing up at the same time. And so now, even, me being a person that grew up with my mom saying, this is the way you got to live, you got to do X, Y, and Z to be successful. And I think sometimes I have that mindset. And so when her and her husband, when they're talking to me about their pie in the sky dreams, which to me is like, that is not security, honey. And I have to check myself and say, it wasn't back in the 70s, but it might be now, right? And so just kind of respecting their space and allowing them to fall, but get back up. I think that's been the best teacher, is kind of letting her kind of explore and learn things on her own pace. So then that it's not a repeat.
I
I
got you.
think
Okay.
I was gonna
Go
say,
ahead.
I think what I'm hearing from all of us, we're not living through our kids like our parents might have been, you know what I'm saying, led. Because if you're not able to live out your dreams, right, then you want your kids to live out your dreams. Not their dreams, your dreams, right?
For them, right.
Yeah, what we have planned for ourselves.
Mhm.
And then if we didn't accomplish those things, we tend to push those programs onto our kids. And it's dope seeing that how we can, like I said, take ourselves out of the equation and allow them to walk in their purpose, what they feel passionate about, what they have love in their heart about, and allow that to play out however it's supposed to play out.
Exactly.
You know? So,
And what's crazy, Kat, my youngest taught me that lesson personally. My youngest, he's 17, soccer prodigy. Like, kids started at 9 and was like he was born with a ball. It didn't make any sense. We have no soccer players in the family. None. Right. I played a little indoor and I was like, I just like kicking the ball as far as I can. That's as good as I was. Right. So, I mean, this kid all throughout playing on advanced teams, got moved up 2 levels, got all this different stuff going on. Like, this is clear cut. This is going to be your path. Go ahead, rock it. In the last year and a half, I'm 17 now, so we got different things going on in life. And he's like, you know what? I may not even play in college. Now, mind you, he's already getting invited to semi-pro teams.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, we could bypass college. You could just get a check, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't even know if I want to play. And I had to sit and deal with that. Because for me, basketball was my way out.
Yeah.
It at least got me to college. Maybe we didn't make it pro, but it got me to college, right? I had good grades too, but this took, like free ride, housing paid for, your family ain't got the money, no worries, we'll take care of it. So I'm looking at him the same way, like, bro, and you actually coming from a good background already. You about to be on easy street. And he said, no, I'm interested in this, and I'm interested in that, and I'm interested in this other thing. And I had to deal with that in my space. Like, dude, you can't do to him what was done to you. His life and his world are far different. You created a different space for him. He's not coming from lack. He's not coming from desperation. He's not coming from, I need to get out of this horrible situation. He's been allowed to now live in a space of security. When we talk about like safety and security, Devona, like you said, we always thought we were doing that. We were actually doing the opposite. Safety and security creates openness, right? We were acting out of desperation and fear. Like, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose this. Oh my God, there's only so much to go around. And we've now been blessed to create these bubbles for our children where they're like, yo, show me the world, right? So I, as a parent, can't say, no, I know you want to see the world, but this is what you're going to do. Right.
Exactly.
And so it took a minute, bro. It really took a minute. It took me a couple months to really be like, all right, if you decide you want, this kid literally plays like every other week. He doesn't even go sometimes, and we still get college letters. Like, that's the level he's on. And he just may decide not to do it. And I have to be okay with that. And that's the biggest challenge I have going on right now as a parent. It's a trip. And it's more about me than him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's like my oldest when he was about to graduate with football.
What'd you say, Coach D? I'm sorry, Cap.
We gotta let go. We gotta let go and trust.
I'm trying, yeah.
That's my oldest playing football. That's my 2 oldest playing football. Like, football, you put them on a football field, oh man, they're gonna stand out, right? And my oldest just graduated, and I'm seeing like, oh, he got it. He's going somewhere, right? And he was like, yeah, I think I'm done. I said, what? You just getting started. What you mean you done, right? But that's me getting hurt sophomore year in college and not finishing my career and wanting to see, the potential of what that could have been. And I had to be like, he wants to do the clothing brand. He wants to build all these different platforms that he's in love with. I'm like, I just got to take myself out of the equation.
Right on. Okay, anyone else have anything? Because we done gone the fit life parenting thing. So before we move on, anybody else got anything you want to touch on? It's good. This is dope. Everybody's good? All right, I don't want to cut y'all off. Right on. Okay, so as we already said, we're going to get part 2, part 3, because we've dealt with literally one topic so far. So, and it's 3:43. Good Lord. All right, so I think this ties into the next one, though. When we talk about what drives our desire to live the fit life. Now, I can say for me at this point in life, and it sounds like the same for everyone else, it could be being an example, being a good role model for our kids, trying to be the best parent we can. Is there anything else within you individually that really drives your desire to live the fit life for yourself? Starting with you, Frank.
I got to go back to that T that I said in fit, and that's the transformative aspect. Just thinking about, where we, how, we talked about a little bit like where we started and now where we are and how our kids get to experience something new. And so what really drives me right now is to continue that, to model that, but to get to a point that I'm already proud of what I've done, but I always want to see what the next level is. And so to live a life that when I am done, I've transformed some aspect of this world for a positive. And so that's what drives me to live that fit life, to be an example and to create as much impact with the time that I have left. Because I feel like I wasted a lot of time, but I know there's no time and space in God, and God can, in a blink of an eye, restore the time I think I've lost, right? And so that's really what drives me now every day, to make up time.
Right on, right on. So dealing in levels, all right? And it's like, and the whole thing of never really being satisfied, being content, but not getting to this place like, oh yeah, I've done everything, let me sit, or becoming complacent, right? Because again, being that example, we don't ever want to see the kids rocking like that. All right. Yeah. Right on. Right on. Okay, Bernice, for you, what drives you?
So I think for me, it's about, at this point in my life, creating legacy, right? Not just generational wealth, but what does, and not just from like a financial standpoint, like what does it look like to give them generations of emotional wellness, physical health, changing our diet for generations from me, because it's different. Listen, I'm not just saying on that because I'm on here with you, fitness gurus, but we actually have to change the legacy of our families on all those domains. So that's what really drives me. But there was a specific incident in 2020 where I got really sick, and they wouldn't treat me because I didn't have COVID. So I'm in and out of the emergency room, and they just kept, you don't even have COVID. I'm like, yeah, but I'm dying. At least I felt that way. And once I started working with a nutritionist, and she basically put me on bone broth for a couple of months, and my body began to, in some supplements, my body began to, and back exercising, things that I had left out, right? In pursuit of the wrong things, right? It changed the trajectory of my life just 2 years ago. And so now it's about wealth from an emotional standpoint, from a mental standpoint, because that's going to get me to that physical health. It's going to get me where I need to be. But it's really the legacy that drives me. I want my kids to stay free, because sometimes I re-imprison them with my own comments, right? Like, Kat, you were just saying, like, you want to, what do you mean you're not gonna play, right? Coach James, you were just like, when he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna play in college. You're like, all that AAU or whatever money we didn't spend. I know, I get it. And so I want to continue this legacy so that their children, my children's children, are freer. It's a little scary even thinking about it. And I think this might be the first time I might have said that. So I might have to eat my words on this, but these kids are very free in their thought process. Whoever said about the YouTube, I get it. We have a bet with my son right now. If he makes $500,000 before he graduates, he doesn't have to go to college.
Ooh.
Boy said bet. He's already monetizing YouTube, okay? And he probably could make more, but we don't let him. We prioritize his education right now, so he can't work as much as he wants to. But yeah, it's about giving them the legacy of freedom. That's what drives me.
Right on. Right on.
But
Yeah, that's,
I was gonna say, it's dope, Bernice, that he has the passion to get up and want to do that every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like, he'll wake up and you would have to pull him away from making those videos and, being on the computer, like doing the animation type stuff. Like, when you have a passion and you're allowed to express yourself like that, imagine the things he's going to create.
I can't imagine. Yeah, we're a house full of entrepreneurs, so we're entrepreneurs with jobs, right? So we can't even truly let go. They're going to be free, and their kids are going to be free. That's what drives me.
Yeah, yeah, that's dope, Bernice. That's awesome. And it is funny. Well, I think we're going to rename this episode the Parenting Support Group or something along those lines, because we all
Thank you,
getting our issues
Devona.
out. We getting our issues out. But no, and I can hear it while you were speaking about it too. It's so interesting, and the levels, like you touched on, Frank. The levels are literally infinite, right? So there's really no end to it. It's just more and more and more and more. And so looking at us, looking across this panel, whether we're entrepreneurs with jobs or just full-time 100% entrepreneurs, whatever it is, the ways we're operating are still minimal compared to the things these kids are now exploring, right? And the adjustment for us is always so huge. Just even, we're talking about the video games or sports or no sports, college or no college, monetizing this and that. And I think a lot of times, I know for me, I can't speak for you guys, but for me, on the parenting side of it, the most frustrating, but the most awesome part of it is when they make those arguments, the fact that their logic is sound, right? It's not like, oh, you just don't want to do this, or you're misbehaving, you're bucking up against me because dad said so I'm not going to do this. No, you actually got a good point, and I have to acknowledge that. And I'm like, God, no, I can't even rebut this. Good Lord.
Yeah, when your
Okay.
kid pulls up with a straight A's
Mhm.
and says like, this is easy, this what I'm doing is hard, this school thing is easy,
Yeah.
what am I supposed to say?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
This is
Or the
stimulating my
receipts.
mind.
Right. Or the
Yeah.
receipts of monetizing the very thing we would have called stupid 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, your kid rolled up, and now this is a dream, but your kid rolls up and says, I made this month what you made last year, making these videos. What are you going to say?
I want to come
I
back.
need my allowance.
I want
That's what I'm
Coach.
gonna say. I need my allowance. You said 100,000. I need my allowance.
I want to make. I want to
Shut
come
up.
back. I want to make
Go
a
ahead,
point.
go ahead.
I want Coach D to get her chance to go, but I want to come back to that because this is an important point that we're talking about right here. But I do want to leave the space for Coach G to make her comment first about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, D. You're going to be the last one.
I was enjoying listening to y'all. But what drives me or my desire to live a fit life? I think like initially it started all about vanity. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be thin and show my collarbone and all that. But it was I know, right? But it was through my own transformation. Then did I see that it's bigger than just me, right? And to kind of touch on what you said, Bernice, it's about legacy. And I feel like every single household needs to have a healer, somebody in their house that can educate them. I'm not saying just um, ailments, but mentally too, right? I think we learn how to deal with stress from our families. We learn how to eat from our families. We learn how to think and process from our families. And so for me, like there are things that I learned in my environment that don't serve me today. And so I think that it's very important for me, and I've already taken on this role in my family as being the healer, right? Teaching my family about new ways to have a relationship with their food, right? Teaching them to listen more to their body because they speak loud and clear every single day. So what does that mean? What are we depriving ourselves of? Every word that we speak, every thought that we have, either out loud or internally, it triggers some kind of chemical action and chemical response to us. Our body is listening to us, even when we're not listening to us, right? So just kind of helping my family to be kind of just more in tune with themselves holistically, mind, body, and spirit. And so I figured that what better way would it be to start with me? And if I teach one, then my daughter teaches one, and then her son teaches one. And then the next thing you know, we have a whole legacy, a whole family lineage that has a new way of thinking, a new way of processing, right? And then that bleeds over into the community, from our friends that we talk to, the company that we keep, the jobs that we decide to engage in, right? I think our purpose and our mission is to affect change in every person that we come in contact with. So fitness is not just about the physical, right? It's about, as you led with, James, the whole person. And I think that we owe it to ourselves that if we don't know someone in our family as a healer, then we become that person that we can be the change we want to see.
Right on, right on. And I honestly believe, just looking at this panel, because some people were brought to the show, some people were like, oh, I think we should get this person, should get that. It wasn't really something I sat down and decided this person, this person, this person. And I believe it was really led to be. So looking at each one of us individually, right, in our role, in our space, I really believe that's what we embody in our families in whatever way we do that. And that's why we do what we do.
Yes.
We literally do it to affect change. Like literally, if we're talking to a client, like, yo, I'm trying to get you from here to here, not just for you, but your kids, your grandkids, your environment, your neighborhood. So we're literally motivated by that, right? And I think that's why we live the lives we live. Frank, let's jump in here real quick. I want to hold true to my words. So let's rock for like 1 minute, and then we'll talk about round two.
Right. I just want to wrap this up real quick, y'all. When y'all was talking, I got hyped because I thought about it like with coaches, if we aren't coaches, we've been coached, right? And what we're really talking about is conditioning, right? You think about when you are training and you're conditioned and you played a sport, right? There was a particular thing that you had to do to get to the next level, right? You had to be, you did something over and over again for a desired result, right? And when we think about our kids, we were conditioned in a different way than they're being conditioned, right? And so we have to be willing, right? We did hill sprints for the game that we were playing, right? The classroom setting, right? They are running downhill, right? For the game that they're gonna play. So are we willing to condition ourselves to meet their standard, right? Because they got a different standard. And so I was just thinking about that. It's really about the conditioning. And are we willing to be reconditioned in order to see something different? And so that's what that really brought to my attention, because I was thinking about the classroom setting and how, in the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, they sat in rows because they were getting used to work. The school is about working in factories. So they created that space for working in factory. Now, a lot of classrooms have couches. They have open space because they want creative thinkers because of the type of job market that they're in, right? All of this is conditioning. And so the more we're open to be reconditioning based on the vision that we want to see, the outcome we want, it makes for us to be better parents and to have a more dynamic fit life, to make that transformation, to leave that legacy that we've all been talking about.
Yes, yes. I love it.
Speak on it, brother Frank.
Right on. All right, Coach Frank, right at home. Right on. And then we can get into the whole thing like MJ, LeBron, and a different level of fitness, different generation. We ain't gonna go down that road. All right, so let's do this. Can I get all four of you guys to commit to round two?
Absolutely.
Yep.
We'll figure it out. Okay, right on. I know everybody got schedules in here. Renice got 5 assistants. I know we're gonna try to figure it out. But we'll get everybody in here and we'll figure it out. All right, good people. So we're gonna wrap up this episode of All Things Fitness. We talked about how to live a fit life. You see where it went. We literally touched 2 topics, right? It is what it is. But hopefully this bless your life. Hopefully you can glean something from it. Everyone's contact information will be in the About section. We'll put it on Instagram as well. And hopefully we'll see y'all here for the next episode. All right, good people. Peace.
Be well.
Bye, everyone.
All right, y'all.
Thank you, Coach James.